Okay, welcome. Hello. We are here this evening, today, to talk about how to heal after shunning. I really do feel that we all experienced it, whether you had family in or out that talked to you, didn't talk to you. We witnessed it, right? When they announced it at the beginning of a meeting or sharing from the stage, and it was just this heaviness across. So, whether you have family members that did still continue to talk to you or have not, we've all experienced it. And I think for me, when I left at a very young age as a kid, was that was the hard part, was how could that be God's love if, these superior or these elders, who are supposed to look after us were, shunning people and that we couldn't talk to them. That was just too much for me to handle. It's like, I'm too sensitive for this. So that was, I feel, my way out. And for anyone who has had parents or family that didn't talk to them, our hearts go out to you. There's a lot of pain that happens around shunning, and we're just here to offer some gentle tips. Again, you take what feels good to you and what doesn't. Your feelings are valid. We would just want to offer a safe space where maybe you can come from, like, look at it at a different, from a different way, or figure out how now and today, um, to move forward, right? Whether it's finding new friends or new people that you can call family, those who accept you unconditionally and just release and let go of the past. We often try to look for that acceptance or that approval from our parent type person. And if there's a door that's closed, then the more we look at the door, we try to open it and it's locked. It just hurts us continually. So finding a place how to compartmentalize what has happened to you, get help if you need it. You're not alone. There's so many of us, especially in the empowered group, and really just find a way to help walk yourself through those emotions, those heavier pieces. There's lots of programs from courses like deprogramming. Rodney has one. Libby here, she's going to talk to us today more about shunning. She has a course that she put together for people who had experienced the shunning, whether it's from a religion, it could be other things. It doesn't even have to be from the religion, but just the pain that goes through with that and how to rise up from it so that it doesn't take over your life and then you end up losing some joy that you could have access to. So again, so much love and self-compassion for yourself and from us around this topic. It is definitely a big one. And yeah, I just want to say thank you. Libby, thanks for being here, and everyone else who's on the call with us. We're going to just kind of share as things come up and tips that could help you. I'm going to give the floor over to Libby, who has a ton of experience leaving religion and many other things, lots of I would say firsthand training over 20 years of how to walk people out of very difficult situations. And I love that she's put together a course for us on how to heal yourself from the shunning. So Libby, thank you so much for being here and for all you have put together and all you do to help people with their emotional suffering and to move forward, how to move forward in life.
How to move forward. Yeah, and that's a
Yeah.
big piece. Thanks, Christine, for that intro and everything. And one of the things that really sort of came up for me, and I've been out myself for over 20 years, hence the 20 years of experience too, because I went directly from leaving and getting divorced and starting working with distress centers and victim services and that kind of thing, because that was what I was drawn to. That was my passion. And over time, I hadn't thought that the shunning had affected me, because it was really only like a handful of people, because it was my spouse's family who were Jehovah's Witnesses who were shunning me at the time. And I didn't realize till later the effect that it actually had on me. And when I was designing the Reclaim Your Power recovery from shunning, one of the things that was a real leverage for that was the understanding first that shunning and secluding people from the group, from the collective, is the oldest form of punishment and the most damaging form of punishment that can be instilled with social creatures. And then that whole piece of when we have a loss like this, when we are shunned, that it is very painful because it's an ambiguous loss. And this is a really, really good book. This is basically what the science that I used in my course. It's by Pauline Boss. And basically the concept here is, first off, any reaction that you have to shunning, that is a normal, natural reaction that you have to a loss that can't be resolved. And it can't be resolved for the simple fact that the person that you have lost, it's kind of like a paradox, in the sense that the person that you've lost is not gone. The potential of being able to reconnect with them is still there because they're alive. But you can't, because they won't let you. They've been told not to let you. And there is pain actually on both sides. But I'll focus on those who are being shunned right at the moment. It's that continuous picking at the wound. Okay. The wound never is allowed to heal, because every time you see them, or every time there's something that has happened that reminds you of those who are shunning you, it basically opens that wound again, and it doesn't allow it to heal. Because there's that potential always of being able to connect with them. So how is it that we get through what is called a frozen grief? Well, there are different ways to be able to do that. But first, before I go into that, I just, anyone who's interested in sort of talking a bit about how shunning has affected them, it might be helpful to sort of bring up some pieces that would be really helpful for this group, if you want to.
Yeah, I'll go. So I left when I was 16. There was still contact, but it was always, the magazines. It was always, come back. It's all, this, that, or the other thing. When I decided that I was going to become a Christian, my mother had a baby. Like, she lost it. And I kicked her out of my house, because I'm sorry, if you're not going to respect me and treat me like an adult, get out. And there has been the only contact, that was 20 years ago. And the only contact there has been since that is funerals, where she proceeded to tell off my daughter. And of course, my daughter just gave it right back to her. She's no holds barred. But it's painful. Like, you're trying to buy milk at the hardware store, right? I still want, I'm 57 years old and I still want my mommy, and does that ever go away? I don't think so. It's like you said, like picking at a wound. It's like there's this big gaping hole in my heart that still wants my mom. And like, it's never, and my sister and my brother. And it's not going to happen. It's just not. So my aunt, like, she just continually, you need to get together, you need to get contact with your mom. You gotta. So last week I sent my mom an email. Have I heard back? No. Do I care? Yeah, I'm really neutral about it now. It's like, if I hear from her, fine. If I don't, like, I only spent 5 minutes writing an email. I think I can, make up that time somewhere. Like, that's how I feel about it today. 6 months ago, I would have been a blubbering idiot about the whole thing. And now it's like, whatever.
What do you think shifted for you?
Everything. I think I've really just come to realize that she is stuck where she is stuck. And I have I've like really moved forward in the past 5 months since I kind of like really had that big thing happen in June. And one thing that Rodney said as
Mention the big
well.
thing in June, just for those who may be
Oh,
new to
yeah,
your
for those who
story.
don't know.
Yeah.
So I've been out for over 40 years. I left home when I was 16 because if I stayed at home, I had to abide by my mom's rules, and I didn't want to go to the Kingdom Hall. I didn't want to study. I wanted nothing to do with being a Jehovah's Witness. So I left home. And in I was on June the 2nd, I was writing my letters to people who were important in my life because I was going to leave planet Earth. I was done. I didn't want to be here anymore. And on June the 3rd, I got a private message from Rodney saying that I just needed to be deprogrammed. So I got in contact with him, and we spent 2 hours on a messenger call, and he, you just need to be deprogrammed. So well, okay, well, sign me up, take my money. If you think you can help me, I'm willing. I didn't really want to die. I just wanted the emotional pain to stop. That's the whole key to, I just wanted the emotional pain to stop. I did his deprogramming, and within like on day after I'd finished like the 3rd day of the program, it was like a huge shift for me, huge, dramatic. Like I literally could not get enough of what Rodney had to say to help change my mind. And that for me was my key to unlock 30 years of therapy that never worked. I just needed to be deprogrammed. And it was like all the puzzle pieces fell into place. And my life has, like, I wake up in the morning and it's like, it's going to be a great day. I can't wait to see what is going to unfold for the day for me. All those 40 years prior, I would roll over in bed. It's like, fuck, another day. Oh my God, I just want to die.
So it freed you up to be able to live.
Yes. And now I'm becoming the person that I was always meant to be. And my gifts are absolutely not in alignment with being a Jehovah's Witness. Like, they are not in alignment at all. Like, I have a lot of woo-woo gifts that I never knew I had. And I have goosebumps just thinking about it. Oh my God.
She's getting ease.
I know. I go, oh,
geez. But those are the interesting pieces that, when we're shunned, we tend to find ourselves in frozen grief. We find ourselves like Christine, like you said, you just sort of, you're going through the motions, but not really living.
Yep.
And it's because we have been programmed that we only have value if we are doing what we've been told by the organization, by our parents, by those things. And when we don't have those anymore, it's like you're free falling. It's like basically doing a bungee dive without the bungee. And that's
for 40 years.
And that's what life feels like, right? But when we take the time to sort of dive in and be like, okay, what is it that I am missing now that I'm being shunned? What is it that I wanted from those relationships that are now missing? What is it that I need in order to be able to move forward? And how is it that I can find, because you're not going to replace your mom, your dad, your children, your siblings, your cousins, your best friends that you had before. Like, there's no one that is going to be them. But there's certain elements of those individuals that you can glean or can obtain from new relationships that you cultivate. But it's that piece of really sort of diving in and finding out first, what is it that I'm missing? Where is the free fall happening? And how can I create these supports in a new way for myself so that I can start moving forward? Or like Christine, how is there a way that I can untangle myself from this programming so that I can see new opportunities ahead of me and start building those relationships and give a place? And I did a video for this back in Valentine's Day about 2-3 years ago, where love needs a place to land. But if we're in free fall, or if we're so guarded, there's no place for us to even build those relationships. And starting that work from within really does happen to be the place to start. But really understanding that loss, that ambiguous loss, that frozen grief, can really stop life from moving forward, and being able to address that grief supports us to be able to build something new. Any questions, comments, things? Yes, I have a black cat.
I love your cat so much.
This is Gru, and it's his supper time, and he doesn't understand why I do events during his supper time.
I want to just tag on what you're saying about, finding a place for our needs. But I think first is like knowing what they are. If you look up, and you can search this, there's quizzes out there for your the 6 basic human needs, and figure out what yours is. And you give that need to yourself, especially in the morning when you get up, then that will help you to maybe not numb, or usually we're all addicted to something, but it just, you're taking care of those needs yourself, whatever it is that you're looking for in the people that are missing in your life. How can you maybe give that to yourself first? In the morning is helpful, because then your whole day isn't thinking, your brain's still going to look for the need and a way to have that met. But if you can meet it earlier on, then you're just going to be a little bit more in a place of contentment, or not, in a place of lack, or feeling that you're missing out, which you are, and your feelings are valid. It's just coming into this place of like, now as we are our own wise inner parent, it's our responsibility. So we take our, blame off of anyone else that's making us feel a way. It's our responsibility to figure out how to heal that, and then also how to meet our own needs. And I just found that if you can look at the 6 basic human needs, and like Maslow's, and figure out what those are in and for yourself, then you start to be able to find, like, I would even say it just feels like a place to breathe, right? Where maybe you feel frozen or just in a difficult place. It's baby stepping, walking yourself up out of whatever those heavier feelings are, and some tools on how to do that. That helps.
And you don't have to do it alone.
Right.
The Empowered Minds group is an amazing place to be like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm feeling. And, it's that piece. We don't have a funeral for our relations that we've lost, right? We don't have a ceremony, or that piece that allows us to grieve, because those people are still living, yet they're not living in our lives. So even that piece of creating ritual, that, let's say you've been disfellowshipped, that you're not going back, and then just having that funeral, that ceremony, that connecting with others to be able to share stories, to share that grief, that can go a long way in being able to open up to new possibilities, because you're giving that chance to have a connection with the loss that you've had. And welcome, Jack. Hello. Hey.
Hey.
Hey, you're
How you ladies
outside.
doing?
Or wow,
Yeah,
how are
I
you?
was just driving home and picking up food for my family, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot today is the meetup, so maybe I'll join. At least I'll listen.
No,
What are
that's
you guys
good.
up to?
Oh, talking about the Shunning piece and just different ways to be able to support through that or
Oh,
pass
Shunning is
that or
awesome.
and
Shunning is so great. Oh my goodness, I am so happy my family is shunning me. It would have been such a pain if they didn't.
and you know what? But the piece too, like that doesn't even have to just
He's
be
an
shunning.
ex-elder for anyone who doesn't know him.
Yeah. But the people don't have to be
No,
shunning you just because you left a religion. It could be, it could
yeah, it
be
happens
your
all the time.
sexual orientation. It could be even
Yeah.
your vaccination, where
Oh
you're
yeah,
at
oh yeah,
compared to your
that's
family.
happening all the time now. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It can be from anything, and being able to process through that can
Yeah,
make a huge
I, I
difference.
think I think that in my case, it's I call it selective shunning because technically I was never disfellowshipped. So Jehovah's Witnesses who I knew had to choose whether they're gonna shun me or not. Some did, some didn't. Right? Majority of them did, but there were a few who didn't. So it's interesting because they had to choose for themselves. The religion actually didn't tell them to shun me. Right? It's they had to make their own decision. But as you know, most of these people live in so much fear that just the thought of associating with somebody who left, creates that kind of feeling that I'm not being loyal to Jehovah and stuff like this. But the reason why I mentioned that shining is great is because if you make it in such a way, if you reprogram your mind basically, uh, and see the good in it, because shining is cruel, no matter like we all agree on that. But what you can do with it is that fact that people no longer are influencing your life. What I'm saying is there are many people that wish their family stopped bothering them, but they're constantly creating the pressure, right? So I talked to many people who left, let's say, evangelical churches, Baptist churches, or even Mormon church, that way they shun, but not officially like Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't have public announcement. Um, and the family is constantly on their ass trying to bring them back to the temple, and you're living in sin, and hell is for people like you, and they're constantly putting that pressure on people, and they're living the kind of a double life when they're trying to appease their family. They're never themselves, and they're always afraid what the family is going to say, and so on. So with Jehovah's Witnesses, if you're shunned, you have to close that book. You're like, you know what? These people, they no longer care about my opinion. They no longer will make their decisions based on what I think about them, and so on. I should never make those decisions myself, thinking, what will the Jehovah's Witness think of me? It doesn't make sense anymore, right? But a lot of people who are kind of left but didn't leave, and they're like on the fence, they don't have that freedom because they're constantly living in fear of what the family or the peer group will say about me, and are they gonna cut me off, or it's gonna be awkward. um, with shining, you don't have that. It's like it's painful, but you're like, you know what, they're shining me. The sorry my They're shining me, and I'm done with it, right? I have to rebuild it, and the process is painful at the beginning, but later on you're like, you know what, I'll never go back. Just the thought of going back to your family and trying to reason with them and say, oh, please accept me for who I am, and so on. And no, I don't think I would like that at all.
So there is that sense of liberation. It's sort of like, okay,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's done. I can now live my own life. Now I can show the things that are really me. I can do the things that I want to do that are meaningful for me. And that can make a whole difference too. One of the important parts though is being able to find out what is it that you received from those people who are now shunning you that
Yeah.
you need to build in the new people in your life so that there isn't those big gaps. Let's say let's say you had a sibling who was constantly having discussions with you, and you both were sharpening each other's knowledge. Well, finding someone who is able to do that with you, they may not have the other traits of that sibling, but they have that trait to help support you to be able to grow and move in your life too. So really gleaning those things out. What are those, and what do I need in my life when I'm looking at creating new relationships that are mutually helpful?
Especially for people who grew up in it, it's kind of difficult to imagine your life being happy outside the organization, because it's difficult to rebuild, your structure and your community and sense of belonging. I remember one belief that helped me to go through with this was the fact that we haven't met all the people that will love us. We haven't met all of them yet. So there will always be people in the future. You don't know them yet, but they will love you for who you are, right? But you haven't met them yet, and all your friendships could have an expiry date too. So we should have appreciation for having people in our life right now, but at the same time, that relationship can fade away, can stop for whatever reason. And like you mentioned, people are shunning each other for various reasons, right? um, and I think right now the polarity is really pushing people apart, because one still believes that Trump will come back and save the world, and another one's like, oh, one wants to take vaccine, the other one doesn't. And we see this polarity happening more than ever, as more and more opinions are thrown out there. I think it's important to have your own opinion, and your certainty of what you believe, what you don't. But pushing other people into your mind frame and so on, that creates a problem. That creates a problem. So, but you know what? Don't forget, pennies on both sides. It's recently I went to pick up my mother, and I went to pick her up from my sister's place. And my sister is shining me, my mother is not. And I just noted, like I just opened the door and just to take my mom and her stuff, and the whole family is so scared. It's like a demon is at the door, and they're pretending that they're okay with me standing there, and it's like you can see they're so uncomfortable, like they don't know whether to say hi or not to say hi. They're like, okay, take this, take that, and they're like so uncomfortable in their own home, because I'm picking my mom, right? It's just weird. So um it's pain on both sides, because when I was
Absolutely.
in it, I remember my best friend, he got disfellowshipped, and I shunned him too, and we were working together, and I wasn't talking to him. Like that's the brainwashing, right?
And
But
that's a huge
that's
challenge. Like my mother-in-law, or my former mother-in-law, what shunned me when I left and got divorced. And part of it's like I'm not with her son anymore. But just the summer before she died, she invited me to come down with my daughter to visit with her. I'm glad that she did. And she said the only regret that she had in life was to not keep connected with me. And for me, that was the closure. That doesn't happen all the time. And I didn't go to the funeral, because then that would have kept my ex-husband from the funeral. It was his mom, and I wasn't going to do that.
right.
But just that piece of how painful it was, and to sit there and listen to the pain from her side. um there is definitely pain for the people who are shunning too, but they feel that they have to. They feel like their
Yes.
hands are tied with it.
Yes.
And that's painful on all way around.
Right.
Are you good?
Good, yeah. Can I help you?
Yeah, you're going to the bakery?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll see you there.
Okay.
That's interesting.
All right, that was weird. I think that's the owner. I think
Oh.
that's the owner. Okay, whatever.
So I have things. I have comments and questions, and
Sure.
I don't know. I just have thoughts. So I'm technically inactive, even though so my family, my mom and sister and my stepdad, but good riddance to him because he's a piece of crap because this is being recorded. But they stopped talking to me 5 years ago because I had disassociated myself through my actions. This was right after the 2016 convention. I don't know if any of you watch like the Lloyd Evans videos on YouTube to keep up, but I do. So when they were like, they had that stupid video where it was like the son texted his mom a hamburger and fries question mark, like people text like that. And then the mom was like, oh, husband of mine, I can't talk to my son. It's so sad. Like, whatever. So they they watched that, my family, and then discussed from that July to the following February when they were going to stop talking to me. And told me that in February. They were like, my sister broke up with me first. She was like, we need to meet up and talk in person. And I was like, are you breaking up with me? And she was like, we should really talk in person. And I was like, that means yes.
Yeah.
And I'm at school right now. I was in college. It was like the middle of the day. And I was like, are you going to stop talking to our dad? Because my dad's not a witness. He's been in and out. Okay, he was born out. His parents joined, my grandparents joined when he was 7. He left when he was a teenager, joined with my mom. They got married. She became a witness. She became a pioneer. He got baptized. He got disfellowshipped 2 years later, then got reinstated with my stepmom. And they were Jehovah's Witnesses for 10 years, and then they left. So my dad's been in and out like 4 times.
Wow.
My sister still talks to him because it hurts her less knowing that he's going to die in Armageddon, and it doesn't make her sad like it makes her sad thinking about me dying in Armageddon. And I was like, you're just a terrible person.
That's an interesting piece, though, that she feels that she needs to shun you because the pain of losing you would be more difficult.
And she wants me to come back, and she doesn't care. She doesn't expect my dad to come back. She doesn't. And they're also at this point, because during our fight of our breakup, I was like, what do you want me to do? Like, I just don't believe it's the truth. What do you want me to do? You want me to follow all the rules? Why would I follow all the rules if I don't believe it's the truth? Like, I left myself for like a few months and then went back by myself for a year. So then my whole family was not witnesses, and it was just me going by myself for a year. Because Jehovah wanted my mom to move to Florida when I was in high school. So I was following all the rules by myself for a year. I started studying with a pioneer from the hall. They were like, Cassidy, study the Bible Teach book. Like, I don't know everything from the Bible Teach book. Like, I wasn't a pioneer with my mom until I went to kindergarten when it was still 90 hours a month. Like, I didn't study the recorder brochure with people until the Bible Teach book came out. Like, come on, you guys. Like, none of the questions I wanted answered were being answered by the Bible Teach book. I wanted to know, like, how can we reconcile the death of children from like not accepting blood transfusions because of a medical thing that didn't exist when the Bible was written. Like, I just had so many issues, and it's so obvious to them that they're correct. It's more plausible to my sister that 2 + 2 = 5 than it is that she's wrong about her religion. There's just what am I supposed to do?
It's the black and it is the black and white thinking. It is the, I will accept what I'm told, and you have grown beyond. You've grown beyond where you have found different answers, that the answers that you received from them didn't make sense. And you were intuitive enough to be like, this feels wrong. So when there's that disconnect, my question to you then is, what do you need now that you're being shunned, let's say from your sister, what was it that you received from that relationship with your sister that you need now and are not having fulfilled?
So here's my only problem. The only thing I feel like I want from my family is like those family memories, and like I part of the reason I miss my sister is because she's the only one who knew what it was like to grow up with my mom and stepdad. And they were the kind of witnesses that other witnesses are like, ooh, you go a little far. You really push this stuff. Like, we weren't allowed to have glitter in our makeup because it was related to witchcraft in the past. Like, my stepdad threw out all our Disney movies when him and my mom got married because they were like, ooh, no, Disney is evil now, even though 2 months ago, while we were still perfectly good witnesses and my mom was a pioneer, Disney movies were allowed. And I think I really just want validation from my childhood about all of the crap I went through, which is why I'm kind of trying to be involved in the ex-witness community, because I'm like, you guys understand what I mean when I say that the presiding overseer was an asshole today. Like, you know what that means. You don't know, you know when the circuit overseer visits that everybody comes to the Tuesday and Thursday meeting now.
Everyone.
Like, everyone who shows up to the memorial shows up to the CO week. Yeah, I don't know. But I think, like, I know that I need a support system, especially because I left when I was 19. So, and I have half of my family still. Like, I have my dad's side, well, not his family, but I have my dad and my step siblings and part of my mom's family still. So I was really lucky to like still have half my family that I can still communicate with and talk to, but they're not the ones I grew up with. I didn't have a relationship with them until I was an adult. Like, even my mom's family, my aunts and uncles and cousins, they all got together for holidays, and that's all they then. And when my mom and stepdad got married, my mom didn't need a babysitter anymore, so we stopped seeing my grandparents and my cousins. So I didn't have a relationship with them until I was an adult. And so it's like, from the age of like 19 to 26, because I'm 26, I'm trying to like build my own support system of like some family members and some friends, but I know I need way more ex-witnesses in that group because none of them get it.
So it's getting
None of them
that
understand.
validation of understanding what it was like.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't the exact experience, just understanding what that experience was like.
And like, to be a good witness, because I was a very, very, very good witness. Like, my mom, my stepdad, I got baptized when I was 10, so I could auxiliary pioneer during my summer vacation. Like, that was when they asked me why I wanted to get baptized, it was like, so I can save more people, so more people get to paradise, because blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. But that's that piece that piece of wanting to be of service, right? Was important. So yeah, those are good pieces, and there is definitely community here, and there's definitely that understanding. We do this group every Monday at 5. We might adjust the time. It might be every other week. We'll see about that, how it turns out in the new year. But there's also, change of path. Jack also has a number of different ones that come up. Rodney has a few. We have a bunch of different meetups. So there's lots of ways to be able to build community. And I think in Las Vegas, there's actually a meetup too. Do you know, Jack, for sure?
Yeah. Rodney's doing his, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I have actually met and had coffee with Rodney.
Yeah.
He made me
Oh,
cry
there you go.
in a good way.
Yeah.
Cried a lot.
We can all make everyone cry in a good way.
Say that you're worthy and say that you are a wonderful, beautiful person. And I was like, oh my God.
It has that effect, definitely. But there's
I
lots
think
of
that-
ways to build community and get that validation. Go ahead, Christine.
Mhm. That part of like, we have to validate ourselves. We maybe weren't given, or you felt like that it wasn't given in other places. Now come within it and you validate yourself. You figure out a way to feel that you are worthy. So many religions teach that we have to do these certain things in order to be accepted. And no, we're just accepted because we're alive, right? And now just connecting with others who are going to accept us. And of course, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses know the craziness that we've been through. And getting help if need be, but get help from someone who's been there, who has been through, the organization, and understands what it's like to be shunned and, to have that feeling. You could go to therapy or to talk to someone, but unless they've been there or been through it, I just don't feel that they understand it on the same level. And there are so many people in the ex-Jehovah's, like in the Empowered Minds group, that are helping people in that manner. So either you're here to build community of people who are just like you, younger, that maybe don't have connection to their family members, and so you can create that or find one that already exists. But first, we have to validate and love ourselves, and it's not easy, but it's not impossible either, and that there are steps and ways to do it, but we are the ones that we're looking for, right? And so going back to like fulfill your cup first of whatever that looks like for you, and everyone's different, so that you're not feeling that lack, right? You are giving yourself that need, and then it gets easier because we're not looking outside of ourselves for that happiness. It's got to come from within. It can't come from anywhere else.
Shining from within, absolutely. So
Yeah.
even in this call right now, you've got Christine Cardozo, who does coaching and support and energy work. Christine Brassington, who does Reiki and energy work. I'm a internationally certified life coach, specializing in individuals who've come out of high control groups. You've got Jack Gray and himself, who's also a coach. Originally, you were trained by Robbins.
Tony Robbins, yeah.
Tony Robbins?
Tony Robbins.
Yep.
So, I mean,
You said that really casually. I feel like we need to take a moment. Be like, oh.
Yeah, you should.
That's what we're gonna do.
Except his coaches don't coach like he does, right? But I mean, Jonah, and there's so many people within the Empowered Minds group to choose from in order to get supports, that find out what is it that you feel that you need, and then we can match you up with the right person to be able to support you.
There's I think that I feel like there's two kinds of groups in the bigger group, is those who have been out a really long time, like myself. I've been out over 30 years, but I didn't understand the mind control from when I was a kid and what was still playing there. And then there are those who left as adults and maybe aren't sure if you still believe the information, or even around Armageddon or different things. So find someone who is able to help you with that, whether it's Libby. Lori, it used to be an elder's wife, so she's a really good one. She's helping people who are trying to understand leaving, and then what do you believe now? Who do you pray to? Do you even want to pray, right? All of those questions. And Jack being an ex-elder. So I just feel that our group, we're just so fortunate. There's so many people there that can help you through whatever transition part you're in. And really, just stay connected somehow. When there is a meetup, participate. If there is a meetup Facebook group, go in there. And if you're having a hard time, post a comment in those smaller groups because then you guys can rally against each other, or like around each other, excuse me, not against.
And I guess
To really just be that support. And if you're lonely, there's no need to be lonely. There are other people in the group who are also lonely, who are looking for someone to connect with. And I would say, like, come out, branch out, do something that you've never done before, or reach out, and ask for, hey, does anyone want to get together on a call on Saturday, right? Create something if you want to do that. But there's no, with all of us who've been through something very similar, and I would even say needs that are very similar in there, ask. It is such a safe group to ask for help, and that you don't have to try and figure it out on your own. You can't, actually, because you're in the water, you can't see the things. And so that's why having someone who's been there, who can come along and say, like, I get it, like, I really get it, right? So that we don't feel we're crazy or totally lost and out there, because we're not.
And even coaches and therapists have their own coaches and therapists.
Otherwise, if they wouldn't have it, they wouldn't believe in the product. I
Yeah.
always tell people, I had at least 2 coaches right now, and if I didn't, then I would basically say, well, I don't think they work. You know what I mean? If you don't believe in the product, then you can't sell it. But I'm a big fan of coaching, because I know what it did in my life, and that's why I became one. But it's so much easier to recover if you ask for help. If you don't, you're just gonna make the same mistakes that everybody else was making. And as some of you express your feelings, there was one lady here, I forgot her name, sorry, but she said 40 years she's been struggling. 40 years.
Yeah.
Christine.
Yeah, myself.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like, and sometimes one conversation with a coach or a therapist will free you, and you'll be like, where have you been for 40 years? Like,
Yeah,
we,
and it
we
was
don't
like
we don't have a reset button, right? Like,
yeah, I literally been in therapy for 30 years, and
Right.
nothing was helping. And they all knew that I'd been raised a Jehovah Witness, but none of them figured out that I had religious trauma. That was
they don't understand
that was the key. Yeah.
They don't understand it. I had people calling me. One lady was literally called me and she said, listen, I have a knife to my wrist. Unless you tell me something why I should stay here, this is it for me. And I've been in therapy for 13 years and I'm not progressing.
Yep.
And literally 1 hour with her, and that's it. She said she never had suicidal thoughts after that. Right? It's just because you have to have that heartfelt understanding first.
Yep.
And if you don't, no amount of wisdom will help somebody if you don't feel understood.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Once you feel understood, once you
Or feel heard.
Cassidy? I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. But that's what you meant, like, when you said you're looking for people who understand what it means to have a fear of circle of a seer coming, right? Like, I understand that very well because we went through it, right? Like, I came to the meeting late and there was no seats available except right next to the circle of a seer, and I was not prepared for the meeting. And I was trying to be an elder. That's like, you guys understand it. You can understand this. But who else would?
We all take a breath intake of like, it's a
You know what I mean?
nightmare.
Like,
walk
you
into the
didn't
Kingdom
study
Hall,
your watchtower.
You walk into the
And
Kingdom
again,
Hall,
it goes
you're
right
coming
back
late.
to it doesn't matter what you do. Like, you just can't do it right, and nothing you can do is good enough for them.
Yeah.
So if I can, I'm sorry.
Like,
I keep
Hello?
bumping in. I'm so sorry, Jack. Sorry. I'll wait.
Go ahead, Willow.
Go ahead. No, I finished.
I'm just wanting to put my pitch in for the difference between psychotherapy and coaching work from our beloved XJW community.
Willow, how many years have you been looking into this?
25 years. And
You've got some experience.
I literally went back to I left the organization at 18, went back at 35 because my life was trashed and I didn't know how to live. And I thought, well, I can go there. I don't have to have relationships there. I can just hide out and avoid everybody. But anyways, I went into therapy at the same time, which was helpful because it undid a bunch of stuff. But even so, 23 years I was in therapy, and the last 8 were with a trauma specialist at that time. Okay. And I finished with her like 4 years ago. So there's been a lot of change in trauma work just in the last few years, let me tell you, because what I went through, nobody should do that kind of trauma work. But anyway, what ended up happening is I had a psychic break. After 23 years of therapy, I had a full-blown psychic break because I could not, nobody knew how to deal with all this. So I fucking, in an instant, blew away my whole past. You know, I mean, I went the hard route having that break, but I did instantly see what the cult had done to me. So it was great to get that much understanding that fast, but I'm still recovering. I did not realize that till today, the work I just did with someone else on spiritual healing. She helped me realize I'm still recovering from that psychic break. So there's so much shit that can happen to you in psychotherapy because they don't understand this cult that has stolen our fucking minds. And so I'm here, and in 4 months' time, I'm feeling empowered and able to get my life back together and get a job and everything. You know, it's just 4 months of being supported. And I found out, since I've been studying energy, that there's an energetic exchange going on between us, you and the person you're working with as a counselor or helper. And if that energetic energy that you need isn't there because they don't have it to give, because they haven't experienced what we have, you're not going to get that help either. So all of this, the fact that energy is so important in this work, it just makes me more and more a believer that it's the community ourselves that has to heal one another. And thank you for giving me this time, but I just felt it was really important to give that message to our new friends that are just coming out and looking for healing. And I do have one other thing about what you can say to these people, Cassidy, that are suggesting that you come back to the organization so they can be involved with you. I'm to the point now that I can point out to people what they're saying. Okay, so you want me to come back and adopt beliefs that don't resonate with my body, with my being at all, which causes me breakdown. I have 17 diagnoses of how my body has been destroyed from believing or adopting shit that don't resonate with me. So put that right into their plate. What you're doing is asking me to do something that will tear my body down and break it down just to compromise and be able to be who you want me to be. I want you to be who you want to be. I'm allowing you to go and continue to be a Jehovah's Witness. I ask you to allow me to find my path as well. So I don't know if that helps, but
That's really good.
You know what?
Yeah,
From your Willow, from your perspective, that makes sense. That, you know, why would they do this? Why would they push people? But from their perspective, if you remember, they're saving lives, and
yeah,
you know,
but they need to know our perspective. They need to understand our perspective as to why we're not there. We don't want to ruin our bodies and our lives anymore.
See, when I was a witness, I remember when this point was brought to me, I would recall that scripture when Jesus says, "Oh, you're better off cut off your arm and go to the kingdom of heaven without an arm than have the whole body thrown in Gehenna," right? So they would use these scriptures to say, "Oh, you know what? We know it's causing you pain to maybe be a Jehovah's Witness for whatever reason, physical, emotional, it doesn't matter, as long as you are one of us, because it would be better for you to make it to the new system, right? Beat up, sick, depressed, whatever, as long as you make it, because then you have everlasting life and you'll be happy. but the price that you got to pay, it's irrelevant, right? So with that mindset, there's almost nothing that you can tell these people that they will understand that you cannot be
No,
part
but they need,
of them.
but we can tell our truth. That gives us
Yeah,
the
yeah.
opportunity to tell our truth. And that just feels
absolutely,
good to me.
absolutely. I'm saying, don't expect them to understand it.
Oh no, they won't.
Right.
They can't because
They
they're
can't.
so.
If I may, I just wanted to share that. I don't know about you guys, but for me, like personally, I come from a pretty big family, and I was raised in the quote unquote truth. So it's my parents, my three sisters, it's me. And for me personally, that's what's made it real tough. Like if I would have been raised in this, like maybe as an only child, it would be a much easier process. But because I had to deal with such a big family that are all still in the truth, then that for me, that's something that has made it difficult for me. The only one that really reaches out to me is my father. And then aside from that, my sisters, I don't have a relationship with all three of them. My mother, I don't have a relationship with her either. My father is the only one. I mean, I don't have a relationship per se with him, but he does reach out to me every now and then. And, you know, I remember it's like they don't, you know, like when you come out of it, you're so angry. And I still have some anger, not towards them, but towards the organization. But it's, you're also kind of angry at them for not understanding, but sometimes it's hard for you to put yourself in their shoes and remember that you were like them at one point, right? They were fully indoctrinated. Their mind was conditioned to believe what they believed in, and now you're on the other side. And for me, I used to try to like reason with my parents, and I would tell them like, you guys don't understand, this is what it is. And they're like, why don't you talk to the others? I'm like, that's not gonna help. And my father would tell me, son, come back to Jehovah. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's not coming back to Jehovah. It's coming back to an organization that's claiming to represent Jehovah. That's the difference. And I'm never gonna come back, and you need to accept that. And the sooner you can accept it, the better. But for me personally, that's what's made it tough, because it's because I come from a pretty big family that's all still in the organization. So I just wanted to share that. And yeah, that's what makes it difficult for me, honestly. So I know they miss me. I feel like they kind of miss me sometimes, but it's like because of, you know, the hierarchy and the rules, you know, they do what they have to do to stay with, because it's the fear mongering and the controlling, the manipulation. That's what keeps them in the organization still. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
And
Appreciate
thank you for
you.
sharing that. Yeah, because it is a challenge, especially when there are so many that you were so close to that you're no longer having access to. You're unplugged in so many ways, and finding ways to be able to have your needs met, even though you're unplugged from them, can really help to ease that grief, that frozen grief.
I think one thing that we found, I mean, it's really interesting when you really think about it. One thing that sets us apart from other people, you know, the experiences that we've been through, is that people don't understand the grief that we're really going through. Because, you know, obviously, you know, if you're at a job and you have a close one, like your brother, your sister, your father, your mother dies, you talk to your boss and you ask for days of bereavement. Essentially are the people that were part of our close knit community, we basically lost them. That's what we're doing. We're going through a period of grief, and we can't just go to a job and say, oh, can I get a few days of bereavement? Can I get some time off to think about my, to just go through some closure, and can I get my days off from work?
I think it's hilarious. I totally got that.
Yeah. And you're glitching out there a bit, Raymond.
It's like it's kind of, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just that you were glitching out there for a little bit. But it's interesting. It's interesting too. I just want to make a point that if you are working or within a community of people who got it, then they would be like, oh, okay, so this is happening. You know what? Take the time that you need, because we understand what that grief, that frozen grief is like, and how it's not something that ends after a year. It's not something that ends after a month, that it's something that, you know, gets opened all the time, and that you need space for and understanding. Does that make sense, Raymond?
No, yeah, I understand. Yes, it does. So, but that's what makes it tough sometimes, that it's just a lot of people, they don't understand what we're experiencing, you know, and it does get me down every now and then, especially like now during the times of, like, you know, holiday, when people are like, oh, it's about family and family sticks together, let's get together for the holidays. So it gets me down, because it reminds you of the fact that you don't have your family during a time when people become like more like family oriented. They, you know, get together with fam. So I would say it this time of year is a bit tougher for me, actually, when I think about it.
Well, I
Yeah,
invite
that's
you to stay connected, and
Yeah.
I'm going to put into the schedule, or even I'm going to put into the schedule. I'm going to put into the chat the change of path link, so that you can join that, and that's coming up on Thursday. If you want to join that, anyone can join that from this link. Okay, go ahead.
Jonam is also having something about for the friends that are having difficulty. So we can get that information to you too.
Yeah. Super. And I would say, you know, well, first of all, thank you for sharing all of that, you know, and we're here, we understand,
Yeah.
you know, we're not living your pain or your grief, but just know, like, we're here as support, and thank you for sharing what you did. If there are friends or people you can connect to that are around you, that you can create a new tradition, or it's not going to take away the hurt and pain, of course, of not having the family, but it'll give you something new to focus on, to have experiences where you can still have a friend, dinner or something like that to celebrate and to look forward to, so that it's just a different way of living and moving forward. And how can you still find good experiences even though that part or our family aren't speaking to us? And one other little tip is not to call it the truth, because when we say that it's the truth, then it makes us wrong, right? So we're not using any of their language or their lingo, just call it the organization, so that you can detach from that part. And that's part of the deprogramming that Rodney's course teaches, is definitely not using their lingo, because we are not wrong. We are, because we've left, it doesn't mean that we're crazy or there's anything that is lacking in us. We are critical thinkers, and we're like, wait, this just doesn't add up, and I don't agree with it. And we're very brave to step away from the family, and sometimes it's generations that have been in. So know that everyone who has stepped away, you are very brave. And if you had the courage to do that, you have the courage to move through this grief as well, and to find a way, however that is for you. There's no right or wrong, but to come to a place where you can be okay with today. And whether you need to close the chapter or have your own ceremony, kind of like a funeral of that part of your life has closed, and now you're going to move forward, and here's the new life that I want to create for myself.
And that ceremony piece can be really, really helpful to be able to move forward from that chapter.
Thank you for the advice. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I was just going to add that, Raymond, you have the beautiful opportunity now to choose your family. And as part of leaving the cult was having to recognize that my family is not who I thought they were, who I wanted them to be, who I needed them to be. And now they can't be who they truly are. And so we accepting that we don't have the family that we thought we had is very grief and it causes, you have to grieve in order to get to that acceptance. But this is a process of grieving, to recognize that your family, all of us, were stolen by the org, the organization, by the brainwashing and the programming. And so we really are experiencing a death in a way. And it takes a lot of grieving and acceptance that they're just not the people that we thought they were. But now because we're learning how to recognize people that resonate with us, we can fill in those gaps with our own chosen family.
Yeah, and I just want to say too,
Thank
to
you.
you young ones, was disfellowshipped when I was 15. I'm now 66. That's 50 years for me. And I was very blessed to have met a coworker when I was 17, who happened to also be a couple of years older than my mother. And we were friends for 35 years. And so she was very much involved in my life and my children. And being shunned by my mom and and a brother and his wife and a sister and her husband and children, you know, we missed things with my immediate family, but there was a larger family out there for us that loved us, that welcomed us. And, I have so many great memories that don't include my family, but I wouldn't trade any of that. And my friend has passed. I miss her today as much as when she passed 14 years ago. No, it's not been quite that long. But no, there are other people out there. And, if you find someone that you can talk to that is approximately the age of your parents or your grandparents, go for it. You will be cherished and you will be loved for who you are, not who you are expected to be as you show up.
And that's a really important piece, that last little piece, accepted for who you are, not who they want you to be. And those surrogates can be just, for lack of a better word, haven't said that they can be a true peace in our lives.
They're an absolute treasure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add that I think it's interesting what Cassidy said before when she was talking about how, and I can I'm sure most, if not all of us, can identify with this, where even if we left the organization, we still know that deep down inside, our family members, they love us, right? So there's some part of us that still wants to feel validated from them. And for a long time, even though I left, I still wanted my parents and even my sisters to validate me, to accept me for who I am and the decisions that I made. And even like I know that deep down inside they love me, even if they don't reach out to me. But I know that, unfortunately, it's like they can't validate me like I wish they could. And I think part of it has to do with deep down. It's crazy because it's kind of like it's like a dichotomy. Like part of them, it's like they're vouching for you. They still love you and they still want the best for you. But there's another part of them that they kind of want to see you like fail, because if you fail, that would only be like confirming to them that, like, oh look, see, he didn't make it in Satan's world. He didn't make it in the organization. And it took me a while to like really internalize and process that and come to that conclusion that part of them, at the end of the day, they don't really want to fully validate us, because there's kind of like a part of them that they just want to see us fail now that we left the organization. I don't know if you guys understand the way I'm expressing it.
So what
Totally.
I'm hearing, Raymond, is that if you fail in the world, that validates what they have chosen to follow is right.
Anything everything validates that what they've chosen is right. Literally everything. If the media says good things about Jehovah's Witnesses, oh yay, the media is finally listening to God. If the media says bad things about Jehovah's Witnesses, oh look, Satan's controlling the media. If good things happen to Jehovah's Witnesses, oh yay, look, we're being blessed. If bad things happen, oh look, we're being persecuted. Matthew says that they persecuted me, they will persecute you also.
Yeah.
It's an impossible fight.
Yeah.
Confirmation bias.
But it's
So
also
go look for
their piece is that truth force. It's they need that order. They need that black and white in order to function with the way that they view the world.
Well, you can look out your front door. If you want to see good, you're going to see good. If you want to see bad, you can find that too. So, you know what? You know who you are in your heart. And you know what? When was the last time you validated yourself?
Big piece.
You know, put your arms around yourself and give yourself a hug and congratulate yourself on moving forward.
And holding true to what you know feels right for you. And that can be a hard thing.
Yep.
I think it's honoring yourself, and we're free, right? I definitely don't want to go back. And so I have a choice. I can look back and look at the things that were left behind, or family that maybe are looking down or shunning, or I could figure out a way, and it's not easy necessarily, but there is a way to separate ourselves from that. We cannot get validation from someone who's not able to give it to us, because they're so wrapped up in their fear of losing the tribe, or being in survival mode. So we just look forward, and now what do you want? How do you validate yourself? What other kinds of people can you hang out with that will lift you up and will accept you? We all want to be loved, accepted, and accepted unconditionally. And first we have to give that to ourselves, and then hang out with people who can give that to us as well. That's how we move forward. And there's so many people, like over 8,000 in this group, guys, from the Empowered Minds. There are people available for you, and it's just like, reach out to them, so that you can find a way to help yourself heal. June, who just mentioned, she's my mom, but she's offering, grandma listens sessions. If you're needing some help, reach out to her. June Hartlieb, she's in the group, and she's willing to hold space and to listen. And she's been through it all, and has, so yeah, and it was also stop there. So there is support, definitely. We are getting a little bit we're over an hour now, and so Libby, do you want to just wrap up?
Sure.
Or Jack, if either of you two want to say anything, just kind of on, for someone who is going through this, how to handle it. I really love, thank you so much, Willow. Jonam's group is religionrehab.co.uk/celebrations, or reach out to Jonam. And he's just a beautiful human to offer
he's
that.
amazing. Yeah.
You don't have to be alone over the holidays or any time of the year. There is support.
Yeah, there's always something, there's always support. So even if you are in the group saying, hey, I'm struggling with this, then you're going to have one of us reach out to you. Jack's in there a lot, so who knows, Jack might be in there reaching out to you as well, or you can private chat any one of us that we've mentioned. But if you're being shunned, you don't have to deal with that alone. You're in this group. There's lots of people to be able to talk about. We understand, we get it, and we can help you work through it. So just know that you don't have to go through this frozen grief by yourself, that we're here for you. Okay.
Did you all mention that they can find groups on meetup.com too?
Yep, there's lots of meetup, and there's meetups within the Empowered Minds group. So if you just go into the different events, you can see different things that are coming up. And again, Thursday, I have the Change of Path group, and it's forward thinking, all the things that you want to move forward in your life, and the subject is chosen by the group itself, and we have an hour and a half to work together on that one. It happens the second Thursday of every month as well. So there's
What time?
lots. It's 7 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're out in Las Vegas,
Don't worry about time zone math. I got you.
4. I'm pretty good with the Pacific time. I have lots of Pacific clients, so it's going from the UK to Pacific. I have to convert from. I do a lot of UK as well, so that's.
I just know the UK is 8 hours past me, and I'm like,
yeah. No,
yeah.
I'm the monkey in the middle for BC and the UK.
Are you in Ontario?
I'm in Ontario.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ontario's the closest city to Buffalo.
It is. It is. Yep.
No one thinks that because they're in different countries.
Wow, go to Buffalo. Like my daughter used to go down to Michigan all the time. So, go down, shop in Michigan,
Hop over.
come back. It's no big deal. Two different. I could go down through Windsor. I could go down through Sarnia. I could take a boat over Lake St. Clair. Perfect. Yeah. Not right now, but hey.
Yeah,
Jack, did you have anything you want to say?
We actually did a seminar in New York, right?
We did. We drove down.
Yeah, we drove here from Toronto. Me, Libby, and a couple of more people. We took a van, and we had a great seminar.
We got to hear all about Tony Robbins.
The what?
We got to hear all about Tony Robbins. That was awesome.
That's right. But you know what? It triggered my memory when you guys were talking about validation. And one thing that I learned from Tony Robbins is, if you ask yourself this one question, which is, how do you know that you have done a good job? How do you know? When are you convinced that you have done a good job? And there's usually two possibilities. You would rather know it internally, or you get it from other people, right? So some people who process things internally, they're like, well, I know I've done a good job because I did my best. I know because compared to what I've done before, this is better, right? This is the best that I have done. And that's usually internal validation of how I know I've done a good job. Other people, they need to hear it from others. They need to hear that, oh, this person liked what I have done. This person complimented me. They appreciate what I have done, right? And I think most Jehovah's Witnesses have the external validation so strong because we would go to the meeting and, you know how it is. They read the paragraph, they asked the question, then we rose our hand and we said, Jehovah loves us. Whew. And then after the meeting is like, great comment, brother so-and-so. Oh, great comment, sister so-and-so. For a little thing. And we were craving that validation from others so much that when we leave, we're like, nobody's validating me anymore. I don't have this tribe that will go pat on my shoulder for doing very little, right? We were getting, validation for cleaning the Kingdom Hall or giving a short answer or giving 5-minute speech at the platform. We were getting that from our tribe all the time. And when you leave, you don't have that, right? So a lot of people they don't know how to get validated. They don't know how to feel worthy. They don't know how they could bring value to others and make an impact because they don't have the tribe anymore. So that's part of the programming and deprogramming part where we got to learn how our mind works, how it was programmed, how to deprogram it. And once it opens up to possibilities, then it's amazing. But that's where it comes to learning from other coaches, people who actually put the time to learn the psychology, to learn how our mind operates, because we have this tendency of feeling that we know it all, especially as Jehovah's Witnesses. They learn the truth about the truth. I'm the smartest person on the planet, right? Jehovah's Witnesses think they have the superior education, the best education in the world. And now the ex-Jehovah's Witness thinks, oh, I'm even better than them, right? It takes actually quite humility to say, you know what? I've been programmed. My mind was programmed. I don't know stuff. I've been treated like a little child. I need to work on myself. I need to deprogram a whole bunch of crap. There are a lot of things that I believe to be true that are not true. And I got to sit down, do my research, and learn critical thinking, a whole bunch of skills I was never taught. I got to put the time to work on myself. But that takes humility to admit that, you know what, we were not in the best religion. We were not the chosen nation. We didn't have the superior knowledge. We were not in the truth. That takes humility to do this. But unless you have that, you won't progress. Right? So anyways, that's just wanted to put out there at the end.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
So
for
glad
my
you
dinner.
joined us.
Then he gets
Awesome.
to eat. And I'm smelling things in the kitchen. So anyway, so this has been great. If you have any questions, feel free to connect with any one of us. I'm Libby Pease, really easy to find me. Christine Cardoza, Jack Gray, Christine Brassington. Thanks. So I knew there was, I'm missing an R, I'm missing something in there. Any one of these can support you within the group. So thank you so much for spending your time with us.
Lots of help.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it. And until next time, do you have a topic that you want to discuss for next class, or not class, next call?
Next call. Oh my goodness. Oh, we're you know what? Let me think about it.
The holidays.
Yeah, we could talk about the holidays. But yeah, we can create a subject and put it in there. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do support for the holidays.
Support for the holidays. Sounds good.
Libby, may I ask, what is the meeting on Thursday about again?
Thursday, I call change of path. And basically what happens is at the beginning of that meeting, everyone has a piece that they want to talk about. And if there's common themes, then that common theme turns into the theme of the session. So don't always know what it is. I always have something in my back pocket just in case. And that's usually from the conversations that I see in Empowered Minds. But very rarely, if ever, have I ever had to pull out of my pocket. Usually people have a common theme that they want to discuss.
Yeah.
So do you usually decide the theme when it starts, or?
With the group decides the theme, whoever shows up. We have a little section right at the beginning, and that's how we decided on what the theme is, and it works really well.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Cool. What would you want to talk about if you went?
I mean, I don't know, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, digital art.
Digital art.
Different things. I don't know. Well, what about you, Libby?
Sounds like technology is an important piece, that whole tech and art and connection, creativity.
Cassidy talks about finances. She might be someone to connect with to ask more questions about that.
Nice. Oh, we should see if Cassidy comes.
You said she talks about what? I'm sorry.
She for work with finance.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Cool. Maybe she'll show up.
Yeah.
Show up and find out. It's a come and go. You don't have to. If you come and it's not a subject that really resonates with you, there's no judgment if you go, or if you need to come late. There's no judgment. It's there as a support for anyone who comes, and the right people come at the right time for the right theme.
Okay, thank you everyone so much. I appreciate you guys.
All right.
You're very welcome.
Take care. Stay connected.
Take care, everyone.